Up next is glass. Glass is going to be a amorphous solid, so this does say no crystal structure to it, so it is amorphous. Keep that in mind. Glass is pretty much just sand and limestone and maybe some other materials to give it different properties. But you are going to get certain things that all glass have in common. It is all going to be somewhat clear, depending on what other things you throw in there, and it's always going to be a solid. Do not mistake. So it is a common misconception that glass is a liquid. It is not. It was just poorly made back in the day. Making glass. First thing you got to do is get your sand and limestone and what else you want to put in there, and you melt it down. So that requires a lot of energy to do so. And then it's made primarily through blowing. You can see this guy here's got this giant metal pipe. Glass is on the one end, and he blows it to inflate it to give it its shape. A lot of times they blow it into molds to get different shapes that way. Properties of glass, it's going to be very brittle and it's going to shatter. Um, this is going to be true for most glasses unless you do something a little different with it. Nowadays we do have shatterproof glass, which is pretty much tempered glass. We do have bulletproof glass, which is made up of a lot of different things. Glass tends to be clear, so you should be able to see through it. There are different impurities you can put into it to give it different colors, but for the most part, it does let light pass through. Glass is very versatile in the way that you can shape it and form it, because it does start off as a liquid, and when it cools, it hardens up. Another good feature with glass is that it doesn't get penetrated by other liquids, so you can store like water or something inside glass, and it's not going to leak through, or the glass isn't going to soak it up. Uses, there are many different uses for glass, and depending on what other elements you kind of put into it will give it different qualities as well. So different mixtures make different uses. For example, if I like to add boron oxide to my glass, I can get it resistant to heat, and therefore I can use it in cookware. So it will heat up, but not as drastically as other glasses, and it won't shatter upon heating up. Pyrex glass is made with a lot of boron, such as the flasks I use in class. Especially for our exothermic experiments, that glass has to withstand heat, so we add boron to it to give it that ability. Also, if you add limestone to your glass, you can bend light better. So a lot of people who wear glasses, such as myself, need the light bent before it reaches our eye, because our eye doesn't do a good job bending it. And therefore I can get a clearer and sharper image from it. The last thing we want to talk about glass with is fairly recent, but is getting to be more and more popular, especially with the internet being reaching all different countries now, is fiber optics. You probably heard Verizon has Fios or something. It's used through fiber optics. Fiber optics is pretty cool. They are thread-like places of glass. They're kind of like glass straws or tubes in there. And what we do is we can shoot light through it, and light bounces off and reflects on all the different sides and comes out on the other side. I can send as much light through this as I want, as long as I send it through at different angles, so the light waves don't actually merge into each self on the same frequency. So you can send a lot of different colors through them and a lot of different messages all at the same time. This is how your phone, TV, and internet get transmitted from your internet service provider, whether it's underground fiber optics. We also lay fiber optics underneath our oceans. So at the ocean floor all the way across, like the Atlantic Ocean, you do have a fiber optic network to bring internet and images from one continent to the next. So you can imagine how useful fiber optics are.